Them even shouted killer. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk to a former prosecutor turned defense attorney about the case.
I knew he's a defense attorney because his suit's at least $5,000.
Okay, let's
see it
start.
over there. Very sharp. Well, millions of people watched Casey Anthony trial. I'm pretty stunned, of course, when she was acquitted of the most serious crimes.
Yeah, a lot of people were. You know, former prosecutor Anthony Falangetti, well, he joins us now with what the prosecution did wrong, what the defense did right. You know, and I know you've worked on both sides. You were a prosecutor for 15 years with the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. You prosecuted more than 40 murders, and now you're defense attorney. But first, we want to go to the prosecution side. Why did they fail here? Why were they not able to persuade 12 jurors that she was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, it's not necessarily how did they fail. It's really the failure of the evidence. Any prosecutor, when they receive a case, they can be the greatest lawyer in the world, but they're only dealt a particular hand evidence, and that's what they got to go forward with. And in this case, the juror, Jennifer Ford, who was interviewed, even the alternate juror who concluded the same reasoning that the actual sitting jurors did, not enough evidence. And circumstantially, the core of this case was you were putting a case together based on circumstantial evidence. There was a tremendous gap in the cause of death. And when you get down to a circumstantial evidence case, a homicide, every prosecutor needs to show the core elements of murder, and oftentimes the intent to kill, the malice of forethought that's required for a murder, and that premeditation, we find it in the cause of death.
Let me ask you a question about what happened this morning here. And if we look at the live PC, TMZ just reporting seconds ago here that Casey Anthony is headed to Columbus, Ohio, and that police are offering to protect her there, but for a price. They want to have the price of protection covered. We saw her taken out of the jail there this morning by a lawyer who is said to be packing heat because of all the death threats. Have you ever had a client who had death threats and things like this in such danger?
Casey Anthony, clearly, her case, her situation is completely abnormal in the American justice system. Let's be clear, we've been focusing on this case for weeks and weeks and months. Her situation is unlike any other criminal case that we have in the system right now.
And why is that? What did it do to the whole, you know, this country that made everyone so watching it and so focused on it?
Well, let's look at the American public, the news media. We all seem to want to have an emotional stake in it. And why? This was an emotional case. This was a mother who allegedly killed her 3-year-old daughter and then left her body in the wilderness, then went out and partied. That's the claim of the prosecution in this case. That's the emotional hook on this case that grabbed the public. It grabbed all of America. It was what the news media has talked about repeatedly, was this type of evidence and that type of emotion. And in this case, after not guilty, with many Americans and many people and news media believing the jury came back with the wrong verdict, those emotions spill out to threats, they spill out to overreaction, and they spill out to this kind of emotional response to the justice system and to this case that pretty much we should learn this is a one-of-a-kind case, and we have to respect what this jury did because this is the American justice system at work. We might not always emotionally agree with what happened, but these jurors came back with a unanimous verdict.
Yeah, they worked hard at it. Now there are all these Facebook pages I was reading about where they're asking you, hey, if you see Casey Anthony, post it.
Report it.
People, it's like they want to hunt her down.
That's crazy. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Looking at the PC one.